It's hard to speak about the creative economy without bringing up the name Carla Perlo. Carla is founder and director of Dance Place, which was founded in 1978 and is now located in the Brookland neighborhood of Northeast D.C. She is an internationally renowned choreographer and teacher.
And we can see world-class artists from everywhere here in Washington. We're so fortunate. We have progressed as a cultural center. There is no question. We used to be a small southern town, and now we are hot. Every neighborhood is hot. Everybody wants to live here. And we're getting smart. We're getting smart because people realize that the arts are important in the creative economy and that we need to be more walkable, more bikeable, more metroable. And that's what's making Washington a great city to live in. That's why everybody wants to come here. There's opportunity, there's art, there's transportation. I've always thought I was special because I was born on Christmas Day, 1951, just 6 years after the end of World War II. But if you want to get to know me, Carla Perlo, first you have to know about my father, Hyman Perlo. At the age of 23, Hyman served as a paratrooper in the United States Army and survived living in a foxhole for 69 days at Anzio beachhead in Italy and was on the front lines in Cassien, France. He was awarded the Silver Star for gallantry and was hailed as a hero for swimming injured soldiers across the river to safety while under enemy fire. Hyman will always be my hero, in and outside of the trenches, as an outstanding athlete, teacher in the inner city, store owner, director at Buffalo Gap Camp, and the director of community relations for Baltimore Bullets, later known as the Washington Wizards. Dad always said he had every job imaginable. He taught me many things, and among them, the most important. In order to love my own child fully, I must love other people's children and how to build community. Throughout my life, teaching has been the thread that ties everything together for me. And it started with my most influential teachers, my parents, Hyman and Edith Perlo, my sister Lisa Perlo-Paul, and my childhood caretaker, May Frances Sims. My mother, Edith, taught me about discipline, moderation, loyalty, and longevity. My sister has always been there to hold my hand through every challenge, and May Frances was my first dance teacher.
Carla's always had the attitude that I can do that. And I think that a lot of that came from my mom. And because she was working some hours after we were out of school, she hired a babysitter, May Frances, who really became like a very, very dear friend. Carla had started kindergarten. Well, Carla didn't really love kindergarten and really enjoyed being with May more. She liked dancing with her, playing games, listening to music, and so Carla announced that she didn't want to go to kindergarten anymore. And affectionately, we refer to Carla's kindergarten experience as not graduating from kindergarten, but actually quituating. I think we're very much influenced by my dad's love of children.
I've taught hundreds of children to jump rope as a way of building confidence, patience, and discipline. The rhythm of that rope seems to gather people together. My parents' friends, which we affectionately call the gang, helped me understand that friends can feel like family. That kind of friendship was exactly what I aimed to recreate at Dance Place. My summers at Buffalo Gap Camp in the hills of West Virginia influenced my life greatly. At camp, I discovered my true self and made lifelong friends. This inspired me to create the Energizers Summer Camp. I've been teaching modern dance at Dance Place in Washington, D.C. on Saturday mornings at 9:30 a.m. since 1980. I really don't like to miss that class for anything because I've got dedicated students who've been with me a very long time. And then I have new students every single week.
I met Carla the first week of freshman year at the University of Cincinnati, where we were both physical education majors. And Carla and I commiserated together at breakfast every day as we went to take our classes in field hockey and softball and all the team sports required by a phys ed major. And we were, I think, wondering if we were in the right field. And then a wonderful thing happened freshman year. We were required to take a modern dance class as part of our PE training. We went on campus to the College Conservatory of Music, where the Cincinnati Ballet Company had brought in 2 guest modern dance teachers from New York. And those teachers were Thelma Hill and James Truitt. And they had both been in the Lester Horton Dance Company, and they were both affiliated with the Alvin Ailey Company, and they taught the Horton technique.
Thelma Hill inspired me to become a dancer. I was crying to Thelma that I could not keep up with the ballet majors. She told me, "Carla, you've got 2 choices. Stop crying and learn to pick up the movement or quit." So I learned to pick up the movement faster to meet the challenges of studying alongside very advanced dancers. After 2 years in class with Thelma, I asked her, "Do you think I have what it takes to become a professional dancer?" She answered, "Carla, you're the only one who can answer that question." You know, instructors can make or break their students, and thankfully, she was smart enough to let me find out for myself. And as I tell my students, if I teach you everything that I know, your achievements should surpass mine.
Carla got her first job, and it was to create a dance program for inner city kids at a new federally funded art center called the Arts Consortium. And Carla brought me in to help her build this program, and the Kroger company donated an empty Kroger building to be the art center. And our first task was to create a dance studio in a part of the Kroger building.
So I met Carla. Of course, she was going to the University of Cincinnati, Ohio, and she decided to start this program down the street from my house. And so I guess we must have been playing outside. Our parents were at work, you know, we were just hanging out, you know, trying to find something to get into. And she was like, typical Carla fashion, "Just come in here, you need to dance." So that's how I met Carla.
My intent was always to be a teacher, but I realized that no one would want to study with me unless I learned to be a performer.
Thelma Hill, our teacher, really took us under her wing and encouraged us to become teachers and to share what we learned from her. And she also encouraged us to go out and study with other teachers. And so we would go off campus to the Contemporary Dance Theater, and we studied with Jefferson James, and she taught the Martha Graham technique. And we also studied with guest teachers that she would bring in, and one of those guest teachers was Jan Van Dyke, a teacher choreographer from Washington, D.C., who ultimately inspired us to move to Washington.
While dancing with Contemporary Dance Theater, I met Jan Van Dyke, who was from Washington, D.C. She created and directed Dance Project Inc. It's a modern dance studio theater, and I met her because she was a guest choreographer with Contemporary Dance Theater. And during that time, she encouraged me to move back to DC and be part of the evolving modern dance community and help her with the expansion of Dance Project Inc. There I met, studied, and worked with many fine artists. Percussionist Steve Bloom, who I eventually married in 1978, and dancer choreographers Liz Lerman, Kathy Payne, Eric Hampton, Harriet Williams, Alvin Mays, Deborah Riley, some of the best dancers I ever worked with.
I met Carla in 1980 when Diane and I had been invited to perform. We had a duet that we created together. We were invited to perform by Jan Van Dyke, but Jan left and Carla then created the Dance Place space that was opening performances for all kinds of dancers, both in town and out of town. So being invited to perform was the initial reason to meet Carla.
And we were moving our organization in, and we needed a name for the space. And I came to you and I asked your opinion, and what did you say?
I said, call it Dance Place.
And so then Dance Place was named by Edith Perlo, and it's been known as that ever since. From 1980 to 1985, Dance Place thrived in Adams Morgan on the second floor at 2424 18th Street. We offered 3 adult modern classes daily. Rehearsals were late into the night, and we had weekend performances by DC-based companies and visiting artists from throughout the U.S. and abroad.
Dance Place was really the only place to go at that time. And Jan Van Dyke was on her way out in 1980, and Carla was taking over. And Dance Place and Carla provided me every opportunity that I really had to perform and get reviewed by Alan Kriegsman in the Post, and to do cutting-edge work, including Carla's work, and perform, you know, in Europe and different festivals.
When I remember distinctly walking through that alley, there was an alley that you had to go through to get to the studio, and it was dark, and it was like, oh my God, where am I going? What is this place? But I distinctly remember once you walked in, you knew you were home. You knew it was okay. You could dance, you could be you could experiment, you could create. It was all of those things.
I've been so fortunate to teach some very talented young dancers, and also to have the opportunity to perform with them when they were ready. Some of them were drawn to the field of modern dance through Dance Place, including Lisa McLaughlin, Phil Baltazar, Tracy Inman, and Brandon Odell, just to name a few. These dancers and many others have gone on to enjoy really successful artistic careers in Washington, New York, and around the world.
It was a hotbed of artistic creativity. The modern dance community descended on Dance Place to take class every day, and it was there that I met all these wonderful dancers who to this day are leading the Washington dance community. Dance Place on 18th Street was like a mecca for dance.
Well, at the time she had a touring dance company, Perlo Bloom and Company, and I did kind of an internship in company management, and helped her with getting bookings, organizing the company, learning dance a little bit from the managerial side. I was also inspired in college to choreograph, and ultimately formed my own dance company. And then as Dance Place became established, Carla gave opportunities to present. And then I had the opportunity to become a resident company as my company grew, and then got my own bookings and started to teach at Dance Place. Ultimately, I taught the Saturday morning class after her for many, many years.
A duet that we did, that Isabel and I did, and did with Carla. You know, I can remember the movements and the sense of flying, and the sense of doing those movements. Yes.
The best day of my life was October 14th, 1983, the birth of our son, Daniel Perlo Bloom, unquestionably our finest production. One of the most challenging times in my life was the day that I was informed that 2424 18th Street was sold, and Dance Place would have to find a new home. In that final season in Adams Morgan, we enjoyed sold-out performances for every presentation. We turned a disastrous situation into an opportunity to find and create a permanent home for Dance Place.
New real estate development and higher prices were rapidly changing the Adams Morgan neighborhood. The building that housed Dance Place was sold, and the new owner informed Carla that she had 30 days to move out or pay quadrupled rent, $6,000 a month. Dance Place would lose its beloved studio theater and its community of artists. The dance community would be homeless. This was the first of many times that Carla exhibited her keen negotiation skills, convincing the new landlord to give Dance Place 6 months, enough time, she hoped, to find a new space. Carla learned one of the most important lessons of her life. In order for a business to succeed, it needed to own, not rent, its building.
And Carla said to me, I don't ever want this to happen to me again. And so I went to find a place that we own and will, not to have this happen. So that was when I really got more deeply involved with Carla and with the Dance Place institution. Because I had an interest in running organizations and how organizations ran and had served on other boards, I said, well, this is how I can help you the most. So I would continue to take classes and also started working with her on actually putting together budgets and putting together financial things.
I got involved for a couple of reasons. One, because I believed in the organization. I joined the board about that time, and a couple of years later, I became chair of the board. I was helping Dance Place renovate the building into which they moved. And as you may know, the building has been renovated 3 times since then.
With the help of Jim Epstein, Richard Pilkington, Steve Bloom, we were able to acquire a 12-month lease with an option to buy a welding warehouse adjacent to the railroad tracks in the Brookland, Edgewood neighborhood of Northeast Washington, D.C.
Hi, my name is Brooke Kidd. I'm the co-founder and director of Joe's Movement Emporium. And I would not be sitting in this theater and performing arts center space without the encouragement and support of Carla Perlo. She is a badass arts real estate developer. And she encouraged me to go for it and to create a capital campaign to buy an empty warehouse and establish a permanent home. With her encouragement, we now have a thriving and busy arts center. I am so grateful for Carla's support, her mentorship, her time with me, and with many other people that are part of our organization.
I watched what they did at Dance Place. I watched what she did with the place that they own next door. I was very motivated, very impressed, very inspired by what Dance Place and Carla Perlo have done. And we hope to do similar things.
And the typical pattern is, for arts institutions to move into places like that, especially if they're going to own, and hang on and make something happen here. And that's clearly what happened. So it took many years for it even to begin to transition into a different kind of place. But I think ultimately, with the way DC was growing and expanding, particularly starting in the 1990s, it was bound to happen in Brookland. And to Carla's and Dance Place's credit, it really became a center for the arts and other things to happen.
When I first moved here from New York, of course, I came to connect with Carla and Dance Place. And at that time, it was in 1987, and the organization had just moved into now our permanent location. And it was a very rough space. And the first thing that was created was the studio so that we could have classes. And performances came, several months after that. So after I arrived in 1987, one of the longtime instructors, Sharon Wyrick, decided to move from the area. She'd been teaching 2 advanced level classes. So Carla invited me to take over those classes. So right away I was able to teach here at Dance Place. And then in the true Carla spirit, she asked if I'd like to help out and do a couple little things around. Would I like to answer phones? And I'd like to count on my many fingers how many people who've been asked, would you like to just answer phones for a while? That was a very common thing in our early years here. So I began answering phones and do a little bit of here and there, administrative, and I guess I did okay, and I guess I established some trust because then I was drawn in to the administrative staff, and then eventually my path through many jobs in Dance Place led to co-director with Carla.
Brookland in the mid-1980s was a very different neighborhood than it is now. With little pedestrian traffic, very little retail, a fair amount of crime, people were hesitant to come to the new location in Northeast. Even some of my friends felt like it was too dangerous. However, I was confident that by hiring a diverse staff of really talented teachers, great musicians that would provide live music, inspiring performers that you couldn't see any other place, that I knew classes and performances would eventually be well attended.
Carla is not only a great creative force, Carla is a great teacher. She is a teacher from the deepest part of her being. And she has shaped the lives of so many young people and so many students There are not many leaders of arts organizations who also own that space and have been an inspiration to so many over so many years.
She has nurtured so many who got their start at Dance Place. The Blue Man Group, the first obvious example before they made it big, they performed at Dance Place. Kyle Abraham, who was soon to become a MacArthur Foundation Fellowship winner, has performed several times at Dance Place.
What's the matter now?
Rennie Harris, Bebe Miller, Dana Taysoon Burgess, and so many others who were given space and a lot of support.
I'm Mr. Gillen, who represents Hope Community Charter School. This is the 2nd grade. She's very, very creative, very creative.
Emotion, no words to say, no words to convey this feeling inside I have for you. But I'll be seeing you.
It's a smile, it's a sneeze, it's a wink, and it's a tear. And it's 1,000 little miracles making us glad that we're here with you today. This is your joy, this is your pain, this is your way, this is me.
It's nifty that she's only 50. Wait till after we dine when she dances like she's 29. That's just the first verse, my darling. I love you.
And baby, all I can tell you is keep on trucking, honey, because you got a lot of years left. Sylvia, I think you know this. We love you from our heart. You are a bright light for all of us. I admire so much you as an artist, as a mother, as a teacher, and a dear friend. So happy, happy birthday. We're sorry that...
And her heart is bigger than life. So she reaches out and she pulls the people in and she develops the family atmosphere.
My favorite thing about Mama Sylvia is how she danced.
Dance Place was definitely, Dance Place and Carla, it was the foundation of me being able to really push out there in terms of my professional career as a performer, because it was my first stop after undergrad. And at the time I found that it seemed like DC would be a better fit for me at that point in my life rather than moving to New York right away.
So I went by Dance Place and introduced myself and said hi to Carla, and she remembered the performance with Cleopatra Robinson Dance Company, and then I had an idea of a solo performance and show, and she said, yeah, you can have the space, and she provided the space for me to create my first solo show here in the US, and that's how our friendship began.
And a lot of my work was sort of what I would call hip-hop, like performance hip-hop. And so it was a little rough, and people used to, they would boycott us, you know, or send the police to our shows and stuff like that in the very beginning. But Carla took a chance on us, and, you know, because of that, that was a reason why, you know, till this day, whatever she asked me to do, I'm just going to do it.
I saw that the new neighborhood lacked quality after school and summer programs for children. And some of those kids literally knocked on the door, and I answered. I knew we could be both a world-class presenter, a school for dance, while simultaneously serving the families in our neighborhood with impactful programs for children and teens.
God bless the child who's got his own, who's got his own.
I met Carla when I was 10 years old. Me and a group of guys from the neighborhood were being really, really bad. When the old building was here, I think it was called the High Feet, that was the building directly across from Dance Place. We were throwing rocks at ongoing cars and trains. Carla was outside gardening, saw us doing that. We were on the roof, she looked, hey, we all ran from Dance Place all the way back to our neighborhood where we grew up from in 7th Street. She chased us like 6 blocks, made us all come back. And as we walking back to Dance Place, she's giving us the spiel of, this is your community, you guys have to be leaders, why y'all doing this? Now, you're gonna be working for Dance Place. She didn't say it like that. It wasn't like that quote, but yeah. And after that, we were just stuck. We couldn't come back, but we always, this was like a second home, especially for us growing up. Some of us come from a lot of my generation came from a single parent home. So at least it was a mother in the house or dad or grandmother. So Carla was like our mother and dad, and what we was missing, she filled that void.
I began after-school activities first with Carla's Club, which included physical play and life skills. Then Carla's Kids, which included dance classes and performance opportunities for children. Then came the Energizers Boys Club, and that evolved into the Energizers Boys and Girls Club, after-school program, summer camp, and junior staff.
I met Carla first through the summer camp, and then continuing, then being in the camp, I met Mama Sylvia because she was an African dance teacher. And so I continued with you know what? Hold up. Sorry, David. Let me go back. Because when Carla told me that I couldn't do the summer camp, I started taking the Saturday classes, which is how I got into the camp the next year. That's what happened. And so she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, which was very, very important at that time, because I finally feel like, oh, it's my purpose to mentor youth and young adults. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I had not experienced working with the junior staffers, I would have never known what my true gifts were Yes, I love dancing. Yes, I feel like that is a part of one of my gifts. I also feel like mentoring youth and young adults are my gift as well.
Now I know how to go into a different community and become social and actually like help classes and younger people.
Definitely that in dance, in life and in dance class particularly, it's best not to compare yourself with other people. It generally detracts from your own performance and just makes you neurotic.
I learned that goals are one of the most important things that you can have in life. Like if you don't have goals, then you're not aiming for anything. And you should always be looking ahead of time to see where you want to be in life.
It was basically like, we're not school, we're not your home life, we are this third place that is also going to offer you instruction, community, and encouragement. And so it was locomotion activities involving sports and some movement, some things that wouldn't be totally foreign to a dance class, kind of snuck in there. And then we would also go to the basketball court and the tennis court and go to the pool and do things that would later become kind of the basis of Dance Place Energizer's summer camp, which is also something my mom has always been in love with, is the idea of summer camp, the implementation of it, and kind of being a secret camp counselor here at Dance Place for a long time, which she still does.
While the programming increased, funding for the staff and touring artists did not keep pace. So I decided I could alleviate that problem by purchasing real estate right across the street from Dance Place that would serve as affordable artist housing for interns that acted as staff and guest rooms for touring artists. Hundreds of artists stayed and lived in those houses.
My absolute favorite thing about living there was getting to be part of Dan Bloom's life. And we are still part of Dan Bloom's life.
It was awesome getting up and walking across the street to work. I never had that experience before. So that was great. But it was just awesome being around all those other people my age. It was like I graduated from college and then I got to go back to college, and that it was great. Back here, I have a husband and a 2-year-old son, and I actually opened my own dance studio, so I was definitely inspired. 5 years I've had my studio, and we are going strong. In spite of everything happening in the world right now, we are going really strong. I also went back and got my master's in education and my teaching credential. I teach full-time dance for public school, and then I own my studio. So
that's just wonderful.
I met Carla in 1969, right after we had both graduated high school, and we were co-camp counselors at Buffalo Gap Camp. We both had a long, enduring relationship with Baba Chuck Davis, the great leader and griot of Dance Africa. Bam was the original presenter of the Dance Africa Festival. It began over 40 years ago. Carla knew Chuck from her early days at Connecticut College in the dance program there. Carla came to New York to see Dance Africa and then decided to create a version for Washington, D.C. at Dance Place. It was a great success, and then Carla and I joined forces to create Dance Africa America, working with Chuck to move the festival to locations all over the United States. That was a great project. It was a great project not only for BAM and for Dance Place, it was a great project for Dance Africa and for Chuck's legend, which was so important and significant in terms of the success and movement of African dance in this country.
Stretch your hands. Stretch your hands. As far as you can reach. As far as you can reach. Grab all of the knowledge. Grab all of the knowledge. That you can grab. That you can grab. Bring it to your head. Bring it to your head. Bring it to your heart. Bring it to your heart. And strengthen the shoulders that others will one day stand.
Carla Perlo and I began what I always will call our sisterhood because of one person, Baba Chuck. We worked together, we traveled together, we came across a lot of obstacles that no one will ever know. But when it was time for us to say, curtain up, lights up, the artists were there and we made it work.
At the heart of it is this real solid core that you can depend on Carla for ideas, for inspiration, and for guidance. And those things have all been just incredibly valuable to artists, and then by extension to the audiences in the DC area who've been so fortunate to have Dance Place and enjoy what she has put before them.
It was also incredibly inspiring because I was seeing really avant-garde, forward-looking art, music, dance from the time I was literally born. And so my view of how you can make a living in this world and how you can express yourself and what is appropriate and how to accept was very deeply shaped in my young years.
We would do these outreaches and all this sort of community work and teaching classes as well, and this is how we got introduced to the community. They were kids basically, and a few of them actually made their way up to Philadelphia and started to dance for the company eventually, and danced with the company for a while.
The community that Carla fosters in the environs of this dance space are far-reaching and won't be forgotten.
Many people think that only big institutions with large budgets can make that kind of impact. But Dance Place is the living proof and example that you don't have to be big. You have to be focused, you have to be dedicated, and you have to be committed every day in order to achieve these kinds of large-scale goals.
She has reinvented Dance Place for decades. Keep reinventing. And especially reinventing yourself, especially when it's something that you love. I think Carla has left that legacy for Dance Place, that you have to keep reinventing yourself, but don't forget about the community.
In preparation for the inevitable leadership transition at Dance Place, in 2010 we launched the Moving Forward campaign, a $5 million initiative to completely renovate our facility, as well as establish a capital reserve. Our successful capital campaign enabled us to expand and transform the building. Every aspect of our facility would be renovated to accommodate our growing program and staff, with a state-of-the-art studio theater. The Hyman and Perlo studio for rehearsals and classes. 3 private offices, and a meeting area inside the colorful Janney Tower. Open office spaces for our staff and interns, comfortable seating for the audiences, enclosed tech booth, and a hardwired electrical system, permanent and movable seating risers with great sightlines of our stage. A welcoming lobby with the Florence Pilkington Cafe and a new box office named after Jim Epstein. Outside gardens with flowering perennial plants and enough program space inside and out for our adult and youth programs. After 37 years of directing, I decided to step away from the many demands of managing the staff, programming the theater, maintaining our facilities, and overseeing the daily operations at Dance Place. We were open for classes and rehearsals 7 days a week, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We presented performances 42 weekends a year. Deborah and I simultaneously retired from our directorship roles in August 2017, but not from teaching our beloved Saturday morning modern dance classes. Denise Rollins and the board of directors hired dancer-choreographer Christopher K. Morgan to serve as the new executive artistic director of Dance Place. Deborah and I left the organization in good hands, with qualified leadership, professional staff, fully renovated building, monetary reserve, and a legacy of dynamic programming.
I think the most important thing I've learned from Carla is that you have to take risks. Dance Place is at an interesting point in its nearly 40-year history now, where we feel firmly rooted and solid, and at the same time we're in a community that's demanding more, not just from us, but from every resource that's available. Young people in our neighborhood, there are more of them. They want more classes. Artists in our DC community are looking for more space to create and more opportunities to present their work. The national field is constantly looking for more touring opportunities. So I think back to Carla's legacy of risk-taking, the risk that she took to purchase this building back in 1986, and realize how important it is to trust the universe, to have faith in yourself, to put the hard work in, and that risk will yield beautiful results.
Christopher led the organization safely during the pandemic by moving in-person operations and programs to the virtual world. It has been a lifeline and brought purpose and connection to a time of isolation and despair. This film is dedicated to my family and friends, the thousands of people that believed in our dream of a studio theater for dance and helped turn it into a reality. Dance Place is now celebrating 41 years of moving people and building community.
You're a gift that you give us, which is that whatever it is, you want to make it us bigger. You want to make it deeper. You want to give us room to breathe, room to grow, and be our best selves. And you're like a social acupuncturist, you know. You're able to do this whole thing, which is, it's just extraordinary.
Having come from the Dance Place and being here at the Ailey School, that feeling is really, really important. And that's something that I think I got from the Dance Place and working with Carla, that feeling. What does that dance make you feel? As a dancer, what does it make the audience feel? It's about the feeling. That's what dance is.